Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. Today's topic is what is missing from Star Citizen for you? Now, we're going to get into that, but before we do, as always, we do a little bit of a recap from last week's episode, and last week's episode was very different. It wasn't a typical Answer the Call. We had a guest on, the Noobifier, and we talked about a couple topics where we usually just talk about one. I probably won't do something like that show very often or very much in the future, as obviously the shows are about you and not necessarily about me and other content creators, but more so along the lines of where we bounced around in topics a little bit too much. I actually edited out a conversation with like a group of us, and I actually wanted to make it into another video, but it just didn't work, so I never ended up posting it. But do check that show out because it was actually a really informative show if you're interested in any peripherals that go with Star Citizen or Noobifier in general. I think just is a wealth of information, and it was a really good show. It was one of our best shows, like just content wise, I think, but it wasn't necessarily our best show back and forth community engagement wise. So I actually don't have any comments really to share from last week's episode because it was just a little bit quieter on that front. So I really want to jump right into the topic, and I'm hoping that we get a lot of callers. As of right now, we don't have that many callers. We have a lot of interaction on Twitter though on the topic, so we'll probably use a few of those tweets and discuss them a bit. But I really don't want this show to be about my opinion at all. I really want it to be about yours. So if it ends up being a much shorter show, but we get a lot more community engagement post-show, like on Reddit and in the YouTube comments, then that's great as well. So we'll see what happens. But what is missing from Star Citizen for you is a very broad, wide net topic. That's not necessarily what ATC is about. So I'm going to focus it in a little bit. There are obviously glaring features missing from Star Citizen. There are many gameplay mechanics, gameplay loops, persistence. We know that already, okay? So we obviously know that those things are missing. CIG knows those things are missing. What this show is about today is what are small tweaks that we can do over the next 6 months, 9 months. We got 3 months until 3.6. We have 6 months until 3.7, and we have 9 months until 3.8. And of all the features that we currently have in-game, and some of the features that are planned in the future, how can we tweak those and make them better for us to play the game? I mean, the first question that I really want to ask you guys as a community, and on March 17th, 2019, are you playing Star Citizen? Why or why not? And that's really what the show's about today is I think all of us want Star Citizen to be our main game that we play regularly. You know, that game that is your go-to, that you think about when you're at work, that you can't wait when you get home from work or school to play. I think we all want Star Citizen to be that game for us. And to be honest with you, I don't feel that we are miles away from that. And I think what's needed more is small little tweaks to the current gameplay that we have, and I think we can have a decently interesting experience. And what I mean by gameplay that we have is things that are being worked on, or things that we have in game now, or things that are being worked on in the near future. Right? So what we have coming in 3.5, for example, is like your player customizer, female characters, heat system changes, quantum travel improvements, ArcCorp, group system improvements, playing with your friends, face over IP and voice over IP improvements, just making those interactions better, and obviously the flight model. You know? So these are big things. Now, let's assume that patch is coming soon, and we can't tweak much for that patch, but we can tweak what's coming and making it a little bit more interesting for 3.6 and beyond. What are some major additions, and these are major additions to me, there may be other additions that are important for you, are like AI improvements, weapon attachments, the black market, rentals, that's ship rentals, The law system, overarching law system, just slowly coming online. NPC healing, which is you healing other NPCs and being able to heal other players. Hand-to-hand combat, swimming, player status system, which is an interesting little thing. PvP bounties, player inventory, ship-to-station docking, dynamic missions, and salvage. Now, all of those things are going to come into some form of a Tier 0 implementation. And what I really want you guys to focus on when you call into the show or when you think about the topic of the show is how do you want those to come in as a Tier 0 implementation? How do you want to tweak the current Tier 0 implementations that are in the game now to enjoy them more? The obvious things, again, are like persistence, game performance, lag, desync. Those are not for today's discussion. Let's talk about the game and how we interact with the game and how we play the game and make it more fun and interesting. And I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to really give you any of my ideas yet. I'm actually going to see what you guys say, and then I'm going to come in with my ideas as well, okay, at the end. So I'll tell you what I think about what I think should come in and what I think's important and what little tweaks I would make at the end of the show. So you guys can go there. But I really, really want to make today's show about you guys. So get your microphones out, get in the call, and let's hear what you have to say. I mean, I will start out with a tweet, and our first tweet is from Sunday, who actually handles all the calls with you guys. So he commented on Twitter today, and I'm going to use the scene that I was with Noob, so there'll be an empty box below me. I'll probably remake this into something that's a bit more usable for this. He says, what I feel is missing from Star Citizen is more light sim mechanics. Needing food and water in your cargo or pockets that slowly use over time automatically, maybe, along with already stocking air, ammo, and fuel, would give players more consequences in their decision-making. That's interesting. I think the water and food thing is a little bit weird, being deducted from you automatically. I think just, you know, taking a sip or drinking, if that's what you really want. And we did see that there's a player status system coming in 3. I think that was 3.8. 3.7 or 3.8. And yeah, I mean, I want to hear more about how you would want to do that. I guess for now, since we don't have too many callers, is I will start to give my opinions a little bit on this. And it was confirmed it was 3.7. Needing food and water, I don't know how I really feel about that. I'm still not sure how I feel about player status, but the idea of stocking your ship with breathable atmosphere, ammo and fuel being more of a factor, I think that would actually make the game experience better. Where right now, quantum fuel, I don't know if we ever really run out of it, but the constant eating and drinking from typical survival games, like the pace of how quickly you get hungry, maybe more realistic. In 6 hours of game time, then you start to get hungry, right? In a couple hours of game time, you get a little bit thirsty, right? I think a more realistic sim mechanic with the game would be better. A lot of survival games, it's in the title, survival. So they make the game about your survival the focus, and it's extensive to some points. And I think that's kind of what started. I don't think survival games are dead, but I think that's what started to kill them, at least for me. So I think, you know, in 6 hours of game time, if you start to get a little bit hungry and you have to have a snack, I don't think that's the end of the world. And I think that would be the right way to do it for a game like Star Citizen, potentially. And maybe they give you a little perk. Certain, you know, if you drink an energy drink, maybe you have a little bit more stamina for a little while, right? But yeah. And I think we're getting a second caller in, so I will take our first caller. But yeah, before I do that, I just want to make sure that you guys understand the fact that The discussion topic is what you need, what you want, what would bring you into the game and make you enjoy it, to where the goal for me and the goal for us and this show should be, let's create a Star Citizen experience that takes you from the first patch of 3.5, let's say, or just using a number for example, all the way up until the next patch comes out, where you can play it and you can come to, like, you don't have to play it every day, but when you log in, you have something to do, something to work towards. So let's assume persistence is coming. Let's assume they're working on it, because they are, right? We know that they are. And we know that it's something that's important to them. So I don't think, like, let's not assume that persistence is in, maybe, but I think for our choices that we make, let's assume it is. And I think that's a fair assumption maybe to have, but yeah. And for those of you guys that are watching live on Twitch, there's lots of comments on Twitch, and I know not all of you guys have mics. I'm not ignoring you. I'm doing my best to read them. I may rewatch the VOD and read them myself later and see what you guys think. But obviously, this is a podcast, so I'm more talking to the microphone or to the camera. And unfortunately, I can't respond to all of your comments in the Twitch chat. But if you guys are watching on YouTube and you do want to come over and join, stop by twitch.tv/Twerk17 at 10 a.m. Eastern Time and stop by the show and make your own call-ins. And yeah, it'll be cool. But anyway, we do have our first caller. His name is Athaxis, and I am going to bring him in right now. Athaxis, how you doing, man? Welcome to Answer the Call.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Of course. Thanks for being here. So what are your thoughts, man? I know it's kind of a weird topic, but I think it gets the gears moving in your head a little bit, right?
Yeah, a little bit, especially because kind of you've kind of been talking for the past 5 minutes how, don't include things that are on the roadmap already.
You can, but how because things that are on the roadmap, you don't actually know how they're going to be implemented. So how would you implement them? So you can absolutely discuss things on the roadmap, but how would you like them to be for you to enjoy them the most?
I mean, for things that I'm most looking forward to, so one of them is in terms of just the day-to-day gameplay. I think it is on the roadmap already. So like the primary gameplay that would keep me in the game and like keep me playing every day, like what I'm really looking to get out of Star Citizen is more kind of exploration navigation gameplay. So for one thing, an easy thing, I think, or easier, is
nothing's easy, right? Let's make that assumption that we know nothing's easy. But if you can if you can iterate a little bit on what we already have, that's kind of the goal of today's show, to make it as easy as possible for them to implement. If they see, wow, Athaxis had a really good idea, I think we can do that. That's the goal here.
Yeah, which is why I have a two-parter where this is the smaller in scope versus the second point I'm going to make is a much larger in scope.
Gotcha. Awesome.
So on the navigation side, I want to see, as part of like HUD improvements, some kind of defined like galactic navigational coordinate system, right? Because I mean, in the game, they have their instances, they have their XY, but to create an in-universe, like, here's how you orient yourself based on these stars or whatever, I think that would be really cool, and have a consistent way for people to, like, instead of using, like, OMs in a really weird three-way triangulation to try and find people on a planet or in space, actually implement some kind of coordinate system so that if someone can give you coordinates to meet up at, you can meet them there. Because right now, it's a little awkward trying to meet up with someone in the middle of nowhere. So that's kind of what I would be looking for. And as part of that, it's going to be some quantum travel, because maybe it's going to take you a long time to get like a short distance in the grand scheme of things, but a long distance to just travel at cruise speed.
Okay.
And as a larger topic so that's the navigation side of it. So giving you control over, picking a destination of your choosing and going towards it and figuring out how to get there. And the larger discussion is more exploration, but that involves implementing like the entire galaxy map, which I know is ages off, and it's not really a feature thing, because they've already demonstrated their feature of planetary creation and orbits and things like that. So I think we're still far off from seeing the rest of the systems being put into game.
Well, I'll interrupt you here a little bit. I think you have a misinterpretation of what they feel that exploration actually is. I think it does have those elements, like with space anomalies and science-y exploration. But I think a lot of what Star Citizen exploration and explorers will be doing is treasure hunting. And I do feel that we already have a lot of the pieces to treasure hunting in the game already, right? Here, a mission spawns, a ship that is destroyed pops out of nowhere, and there's boxes there to pick up. The problem with it is those boxes have no value. There's no interesting, unique items at these spawns. And I think that that's something that you can add to exploration and have explore. Like, think about this, guys, is we think, because I don't know if anybody's done that much work exploring, but we think that that kind of stuff doesn't really exist. If you knew that somewhere out there was a completely unique guns, all sorts of cool things that can only be found on crashed ships on moons and planets, don't you think those explorers would be out there spamming the scan button looking for anomalies? And then going down to a crash ship and not finding something one time and then finding this epic item the next time? Like, is there like something simple as taking a gun that's already in the game, putting a unique skin on it, and also upping the fire rate and how fast it cools down or whatever, or the magazine size is larger? Like, just small tweaks to an FPS weapon, armor that eats more damage, right? You could just put unique items in the game and find and have them found there, and that's exploration to me. It may not be exploration how you look at it, but it's definitely exploration to me.
I mean, my exploration, it's not so much like a defined loop, but just having the mechanics in place that you can either have treasure map type so it's just for flexibility. So you could either have treasure map type exploration where literally a mission spawns, they give you a waypoint and you can just jump there or slowly get there however you want. And the other thing is just to so what you were mentioning about the crash ships, is that something that they would spawn a mission telling you where it is?
Nope. You would go and search around the planet looking for it. And then you would you can triangulate the coordinates of where they are, like how we used to do with the rocks when the rocks spawned in the same spot every time.
Yeah.
And then that would be exploration, and then you could sell the location or whatever if you wanted, or you could share it with your friends. Or you could put it on Reddit and get plenty of Reddit gold if you wanted, But
is that okay?
Or they can they can be random, and all you do every day is go out and I like, if that was something that was in the game right now, what I would do is I would go out and I would go on, let's say Daymar, for example, and I would fly around spamming my scan button, and when I found something, I would pop into general chat and say, who wants to buy this item? That just
kind of fly around patrolling for signals and stuff.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people would enjoy that. But I don't know, that's just my opinion.
I would enjoy that. I'm not sure how what I was saying differed from... I mean, I'm just saying in terms of the scale of what you like. Obviously, you can spawn points of interest within one system.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying for the exploration, for more variety, you can have those other systems. But again, as I was saying, I know that's far off.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to say that they need to have the systems to implement that. I'm just saying I've been to every body on in the Stanton system. Like, I know, there's wilderness. They could spawn random stuff in the wilderness, but in terms of what I'm seeing the same thing all the time.
Of course.
And personally, for me, what I want out of the game, I want to see a little variety eventually. That's what would keep me playing, is if I had at least the opportunity to even like just jump between 3 systems over the course of a week. Just see different views.
What I actually thought you meant was like more exploration on the side of like the science stuff. So instead of exploring and seeing a different system and having variety in what they look like, I thought you meant like having like comets, or you use like a science scanner on your Aquila and get this anomaly that pops up, and you science it, and somehow that's gameplay.
So kind of more like discovery exploration, rather than that this is there and something can be there.
Exactly. Okay. And that's what I thought you meant. But I think that in game now you could definitely do something like the treasure hunting style, but more. But I would say leave the treasure map out of it, where you actually know that there, maybe you find out, like, how about this? What if the treasure map or the mission, for example, would say that there's a crashed ship somewhere near this station, and it was flying to this outpost. So, like Daymar, for example, let's use ArcCorp 141, I think is a Daymar thing, and Bountiful Harvest. And we know that the ship was flying somewhere between there. So then you would search and scan in the area between there and hopefully find it, and then you would get said unique item.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of it. And kind of with the navigation, I was also saying, like, if you have a coordinate system people can actually follow in space, you can have like dead drops set up by players in like the middle of space, and you can't really get to it using like the regular jumps. Like, you'd need to sort out some way to, like I've discussed this with you before, I want to see something like Elite Dangerous to Super Cruise, where you can just, it's like the quantum spline from orbit to the planet's surface, where it's like low speed quantum, but you theoretically still have control of your ship. I'd like to see that mechanic once or system jumps get into the game, because I feel like I want them to shift the speed dynamic to say, okay, quantum's not going to take as long, because the jumps are what's going to take the long time.
Or we know that there's so many quantum jumps that we would speed them up, or whatever. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, man. I'm with you on that. I don't that's kind of what I would want in game 2. But I'm looking at the flight.
Like, I'm looking at the flight. I'm looking at, like, I want to do some solar navigation.
Okay.
And just having HUD elements to, like, that's the thing. I want like a live coordinate system that's like just in space that says you are here, here's your positioning, and that's a mechanic I'd be interested in learning and seeing how they implement.
True. And as a streamer, I would want that turned off.
So people can't find you.
Of course, but no matter what, I think with Star Citizen, that's going to be it's just going to be inevitable. But yeah, I mean, is there anything else that would bring you in, or that you want to add before I bring in the next caller, or bring up the next tweet?
I mean, I guess, right, like, this is something that would be needed for the longevity of the game once we're rolling, is not only feature patches, but also maintenance patches, performance patches, like end-to-end talk about it, because a lot of online games I've seen, they run like a weekly or a bi-weekly patch schedule, and they don't always put in features. But when they put in features, they don't do some of the other things. But they're the studio is constantly running activities saying, okay, we want to rebalance this. We're running this rebalance activity, and they'll tell people it's coming. Like, or to this week's patches, we're looking at rebalancing this, or we're looking at introducing this little thing, or we put in this cosmetic.
I think we'll see that. I think we'll see that from Star Citizen, but I think we need to get through 2019 where they're doing, like, if we look at the roadmap, and we've discussed it quite a bit on the show and on the stream and stuff, is that most of the updates are getting the game to have that really good base, and then we could start talking about balance and, like, I think they'll start doing a lot more smaller updates as well. But all right,
like, to generalize my last statement.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want the game to be released. Like,
yeah, that's why I kind of was like, yeah, obviously.
I just want a time machine.
Yeah.
Jump forward, games released, regular, weekly, bi-weekly patches.
Don't we all?
Quarterly major features.
Yep.
Anyways, thanks for having me on.
Or once a year major features at that point, if the game can stand on its own legs, and doesn't really need us to, like a Rexilla going out there making awesome content for himself. The game doesn't make him the content, he does, right? So when the game can stand on its own 2 feet, I think the updates aren't as important. But those, like you said, those little quality of life and balance updates are. But,
yeah, and they at least give content creators something to talk about, because otherwise I'm seeing like a real
don't feel
turn
bad
down.
For us. Who cares? Nobody cares. Honestly, nobody cares about us, and nobody should. The game is the most important thing. And this happens to be a show where I'm a content creator and everything, but having the thing about Star Citizen is when it's released, we're not going to have much to talk about anymore. We're going to get to play the game. So I know what you're saying, but having stuff to talk about is not good. That means that we don't have a game to play. You know what I mean?
All right.
So I want stuff to play. I don't want stuff to talk about. I want to kill Answer the Call, basically, is what I just said. But anyway,
okay, well,
I'll let you go with Axis. And
Thanks for having me on.
Good call, of course, man. Hopefully we'll have you on again.
Thank you.
Anytime. All right, and then I will bring up our next tweet, and our next tweet is from Mudfucka. Always a great name. He said, "I would love to see in the Star Citizen PTU a single-player race. This could be a time trial in a canyon run, or used as a mission progression to qualify for a scramble race." And once again, he used hashtag ATC17, and that's what you guys can use to get on the show if you're not really comfortable calling in, because I know not everybody is. Sure. I mean, we have the scramble races, and we have the system of the scramble races where we're in a armistice zone, so you don't really have the risk of being trolled as much. So everybody coming to the racing line and going in there and doing it seems like a possibility. So apparently Mud is very interested in racing. And yeah, I don't think that that's something that's necessarily needs for me to be there and play often, but if this is important to him, sure. So thank you, Mudfucker, for your submission. But this could be a time trial or canyon run, or used as a mission progression to qualify for a scramble race. I mean, I would just... Oh, he's saying... Okay, so I kind of misunderstood him. When he said single-player race, I thought he was talking about, like, non-combat races for some reason. I just totally zoned out there. Like, racing on your own that qualifies for a big scramble race or a big actual race in the universe that has some sort of maybe prestige to it is the word I was looking for. But interesting. Okay. That makes it even more interesting than I thought it was. But yeah, my reading skills are kind of 0 out of 10, especially after all my hard work weeks. But let's go ahead and bring in our next caller, who is a good friend of mine, Malfic. So, hey, Malfic, what's up, man? You're on Answer the Call.
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on, man? So, obviously, I know Malfic more from playing Albion Online together. What would take you out of Albion Online and playing Star Citizen more often?
Well, my ideas are probably going to be pretty unpopular because I want a different game than I think most people do.
No matter what, everybody wants a different game than other people do. We all look at the game in a certain way, and I think Star Citizen is so vast and has so many pieces to it that you can get your game, but they can also get their game. So remember, it's what's a priority to you. So go ahead.
Yes, I mean, I look at Star Citizen and I want basically a sci-fi RPG.
Okay.
Honestly, I could care less about the ships at this point. I don't even want to do that anymore.
Okay.
So I want everything that's outside of ships. I want, quests, just like running around in town or going outside of town. I want crafting. I want just anything to do with, just this sci-fi RPG element, not the ships. And I think most people, they buy into the ships.
Yeah, and that's because of, I think, the RPG element. Okay, I did not play as many games growing up as I would have liked. I was very involved in sports, and I wanted to be a professional baseball player and all that. And obviously, I'm here with you guys now, and that didn't work out. So I didn't spend as much time playing games as a kid. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but role-playing games tend to have skill trees involved, right? Is that a major element of a role-playing game?
Typically, yeah. I mean, I know that that's not what Star Citizen is about, but
it kind of is in a way. Are the ships not your skill? Are the components not like adding on to your skill, sort of? Right? Like you progress over time by getting a bigger, better ship and then adding better components to it and so on. So it sort of is.
Yeah, I mean,
so I know you don't want the ships to be a part of it, but could the items and stuff that you get sort of be that way? Similar to Albion Online, where you have to gain skill, but the level of armor and stuff like that you wear is relevant to how skillful you are, right?
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, to me,
I just
the ships
add
are
on to
more
it a
of just
bit.
a way of transportation. I mean, I don't really care about what you do during that time. I'm just for me, the ships just get from A to B.
Yeah.
So if I want to go to this planet and go and do this event that I know is happening on that planet, I just want to get there, get out of my ship, get into my rover, go and do that thing.
I think you're going to get that game. I don't think anybody... I don't think your opinion is unpopular at all. I think you're going to get everything that you want. I just don't... Now, why don't you look at... What would take you out of Albion and get you in the game in the next 6 months? Do you think that that's viable, is like questing and a lot of the stuff? What do you want to see on the outposts? What do you want to see at Hurston right now? What are some small tweaks do you think that they can make on planet side or on a ship station that will get you to where... Because I think what your goals are more long term. So what small things do you want to see them do today, the next patch, tomorrow, and later on in the year, that's going to get you to that point? What would excite you?
For one, you have to have persistence for any of this to matter.
Yes, of course.
So for starters, I mean, if I could build a house and I could store my stuff there, and I could go out and kill these bandits and loot their stuff and take it back to my house, and I could do something where I'm actually building up anything. I mean, I would be in for sure.
Okay. Well, again, I think that's a little bit further along. What if I give you an example of um more elaborate mission giver, like more progression within the mission givers, where their mission tree is a little bit deeper, and maybe they give certain, like, I think I'll go back to this a few times, but unique items by completing their missions, or uh maybe more, I don't know. I guess the only thing that's currently possible would be like more unique items. Would that be something? Because like fly to this mission giver, go and do these missions, and actually get a reward from it. Um, would you play more often? Because I really think everything that you want is a completed game. We're not getting a completed game in 2019, and I think we'll start to see some parts of it in 2020. So, from what I hear from you, is you have no plans of playing Star Citizen in 2019, and probably not 2020. But that's kind of the problem here. Is I think CIG wants to have as much concurrency as possible, and what's going to bring us in is obviously persistence. Like that's a huge overarching thing, like we said earlier. But what small tweaks can we make to the systems that we have in place now to get us there, right? So obviously you want like questing and getting out of your ship and having big, elaborate, fun quest lines with story, and that's what I think you're looking for, right? The mission givers are there. The first step of that is there. So each patch, if we add on to that a little bit at a time, I think we get to where you want sooner than later. And that's kind of my argument for the topic. And it was really hard to come up with the topic idea, the name of it, and get that point out there. That's what I want this show to be about, is step by step, how do we get to that end game better? Because I feel like features come in and then they just die and they get left there. And I think as you put a feature in the game, they should be constantly bringing it from tier 0 to tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, a little tiny bit at a time. But enough about me. I kind of made this way too much about my opinion here than yours. But I feel like you were too far out in the future. So I wanted to do my best to bring you back.
Yeah, so, my overall point is just more reasons to get out of your ship, and that's
okay.
That's what I'm looking for.
Cool.
So, however they do that, just more reasons to get out and do other content.
Well, how would you do it in 3.5? I'm sure you've played 3.3 and 3.4. How would you do it in 3.5? What would get you out of your ship and enjoying the experience outside your ship more often?
Well, I think you kind of touched on just any reason to talk with NPCs, and just some reason to get involved with the world outside of the ship.
So more maybe like lore in the game, storylines.
Yeah, lore, storylines, quests, any kind of NPC enemies out in the world, not just in ships.
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff would get you out of your ship.
Yeah, I think that's something, out of everything that's probably going to get suggested today, that's something that can add to the Star Citizen universe more than anything, right? We have shopkeepers, we have bartenders that are coming along, we have mission givers, we have all these areas, and building out on the story of the Stanton system, even, or a given planet, or a given station, and what makes one place unique from another, is probably something really huge, right? I think we slowly got there, but I think we hit on something pretty big. Is because the first caller, Athaxis, kind of was like, yeah, I've flown to these places, but it all still kind of feels the same. And the procedural work and all that stuff they're doing now is definitely making things feel a little bit different. And maybe stations are made by the same companies, and so on and so forth, so they look the same. But, you know, we know living in the countries that we live in, or in America and in different states, that people act and sound and have different values depending on where you live. And I think Star Citizen can do a good job of making that really come to light as they build the game out. What separates ArcCorp as a city and as a people from Hurston, and putting that story in there right off the bat would be amazing, I think. But again, I made this shit about me. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine, man. It's all, you know, I just kind of brought up the topic and we went with it, so it's cool.
But I agree with you. I think getting out of the ships and not always being about ship-to-ship combat or whatever, it is important. It's not actually important to me. I think the most important thing for me is actually the experience on your ship. I'm of the complete opposite, but yeah. That's cool. Is there anything else you want to add, though, before I let you go?
No, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'll see you in Albion Online soon. I want to play some Conan Exiles. I want to play... So I have all these games I have, and Albion is such a commitment that I can't make it right now.
Don't lie. You're never playing Albany again.
I'm still paying for my subscription, so I better be playing it soon. But anyway,
all right.
I'll let you go, and I'm gonna go to the next tweet, actually. So thank you, Malfic, as always. Pretty regular caller these days. Thank you so much. All right, so our next tweet is from Crown 4QH on Twitter. And he said, "What's missing for me is cohesion and a tight plan from CIG. Looking at the roadmaps, it's so random, so disorganized and unfocused that it gives me a feeling that they're stretched thin. A roadmap should be strategic, and this feels like a shotgun blast." Interesting. Definitely a different take, because I think we were what's missing from Star Citizen in game, but what would bring him back is more organization in their roadmap. But I don't necessarily disagree with you, Crown. But at the same time, you know, you may be a game developer. I don't know. I'm not. And I don't know what a disorganized roadmap would look like, right? So it's hard for me to comment on this one. But at the same time, we are kind of having this discussion for that reason, right? Where cargo went into the game and really hasn't been touched since then. Yes, I love cargo hauling, okay? I want it to be better. All right? That's me. But I do think, and I would like to see this, again, this is what our priorities are, is that as something comes in the game, it comes in at a tier 0 implementation. Cool. Mining came in at a tier 0 and has slowly grown into something more interesting. Scanning, we're seeing improvements coming to that in the future. Right? So as things come online, I'd like to see them. I think this is what he wants from the roadmap, is exactly what I want, is slow, gradual iteration to get to that final step easier, because I feel like if you build out scanning and take feedback from the community and from within the development studio and say, well, this would work better if we did this. We'll do it in the next patch. And then see how that works. And then take your feedback and then do something new in the next patch and make it better and better and better until you get it to where it needs to be. Right? And obviously sometimes there's dependencies on why you can't do that. But so I don't think we disagree with him. I think it's a little kind of off topic and a bit different than what I would have expected to hear on the show. But at the same time, I don't think we are too far off from each other at all. And I'm just getting ready for our next caller, who you guys may know from Twitch. His name is Nick the Canadian. So twitch.tv/Nick the Canadian. If you guys have not seen his stream, make sure you go check him out. And right. Go. Hello, Nick. Welcome to Answer the Call, man. How you doing?
Hello. Doing good. Just waking up, having coffee.
So, from someone who streams Star Citizen as well, what's missing for you?
To me right now, what's missing for me is a more user-friendly way to speak and get into voice comms with just people that you want to play games with. I feel like that whole system, while it's in and working, it's not really intuitive for people to just go in, get on VoIP, and just start talking immediately. They made it very cumbersome for their very first tier 0 implementation for it.
Okay, well, go into some specifics. What we know that there's VoIP and VoIP improvements coming in 3.5, and they're probably already feature complete and bug fixing at this point, I would imagine, right? If we look at the roadmap. But how would you do it? What's wrong with it, and how would you improve it?
Well, for me, I'm also looking at how things are going to be like when they implement also organizations in the future, and I'd really like them to just fix some things before they implement that. And I feel like I experienced this just yesterday when I was playing with some people, and it was just like, hey, let's get into voice comms and everything, and you know, if you want to turn on VoIP and everything, you have to go through one menu, turn on VoIP. And then you have to go into another menu and then make sure you and both the person you want to talk to are both in the same channels right away.
Yep.
So you need you already, before you're even talking, you need communications on both ends to make sure you're able to talk to each other. And then you can talk to each other. So I feel like they just need a system where it just automatically sort of does things, make it so that when you're talking, that the other person's going to hear you, and you're not going to be going through multiple menus to be able to even start talking to people. They just need to make that a little bit more automated and a little bit more user-friendly for people to be able to actually start having conversations in the verse.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's insane how much focus is put on Jumptown, right? And how important it is right now in the game is because it's really the only place where we get some consistent gameplay, I guess, against each other. The fact that you can't speak on voice comms and everyone hear you, guaranteed. Like the fact that you just go to an area and speak and not everyone can hear you is obviously not good. And I think and no doubt about it, the initial implementation of face over IP and voice over IP has been rough. It has not been smooth. And it's something that is paramount to Star Citizen, and not just for solo players, not just for streamers, not just for YouTubers or anybody. It's paramount for everyone. I think to be interesting.
Like to be able to just go up to someone and know that you're going to be speaking in like a proximity like chat, and know that person's going to hear you.
Yeah,
that we need to have that for VoIP. We need to know that if my mic's on and I talk, that person that's just sitting at the bar over there is going to hear me.
Yeah,
so that I can ask them a question or something or make a comment.
Yeah, and I do think it's important that you have the option to turn it off, but I think it should definitely be on by default because it is an online video game. I know that I want to pop onto voice comms at a popular area and just play keyboard cat and be annoying. And there's way more annoying people out there than me, so there should be the option to turn it off. So not I agree with you. If I stand and talk next to somebody, they can't turn their ears off in real life, and they shouldn't be able to, right? But so I would want to be heard as well. But at the same time, as long as there's an option for you to turn it off because some people are going to be annoying, then
I completely agree. Like you should be able to just very quickly be able to just like, I don't want to hear that person, mute them.
Yeah,
very quickly.
Yeah, like just within the inner thought, right? Just F on them and say mute. Done.
Right.
Bye. Would be great. So I'm with you, man. It's so important, and you know, we both happen to stream on Twitch, but it's important just in general. There's so much that I feel like I've missed out on, like that 3.4 and 3.3 have missed out because VoIP works the way that it does currently, right?
Yeah, and they've always said they want people to get away from using things like Discord, and use Spectrum. And you know, I feel like they need to do these steps in the next few updates to make us move away from being like, just hop in Discord because it's such a pain in the butt to try and do voice comms in Star Citizen.
I mean, just to like have somebody walk by you at Port Olisar and say, "What's up, man? Hope you have a good day." And even if he doesn't say anything back and just gives you a little nod or an emote, that's cool, you know?
Yep.
So, I don't know. Is there anything else besides just voice comms?
Organizations. I'd love to see organizations actually in-game and actually have organizations work towards something in-game. That's just a quick little quip of what I want to see.
Yeah, okay.
But that's another gameplay. It's coming.
It's just coming, and it's you need a lot more pieces before that works type of thing. Yeah. But I don't know. By the way, I may have met your friend at my job. I'm thinking it's you. He said that there's a Canadian that he knows that streams Star Citizen, and they worked together. So, I don't know. I don't know his name, but...
Wait, what?
Yeah. I don't know.
Well,
some guy that was playing poker. There's a lot of Canadian streamers, but he kind of described you, so I think it's you.
Oh, that's okay. Okay.
Yeah, but we'll leave it at that. We'll have our awkward conversation another time.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry. I'll dox you just in a individual conversation with you and I. But all right. I'll talk to you later, Nick. Thank you so much for calling in. And yeah, voice comms are a major problem. All right, so our next tweet. Yeah, it was weird. Some kid was talking about PC games, and I was like, "Oh, I play PC games." And he was like, "Which one?" And I was like, "Oh, this game, you probably never heard of it. It's called Star Citizen." And he was like, "Oh, my friend stream. Well, this guy I worked with, we're not really like friends. We're kind of acquaintances. He streams Star Citizen." And I'm like, you know, where is he from? What? And he's like, "Oh, he's Canadian." And I'm like, describe him. Kind of you. So our next tweet is from Zeus Anoxia. He used the wrong hashtag. Mod, by the way. I feel there's enough content in Star Citizen to keep me coming back whenever I have free time, if everything wasn't broken or bugged. 3 out of 5 missions I try to complete fail because of the game bugs, server crashes, make cargo hauling very risky. Yep. And then the second part of the tweet, and every time I make some decent progress, an incremental patch 3.4x will wipe everything and send me back to day 1. I feel the playability will benefit from CIG just taking one patch and hunkering down to fix missions before they continue adding things that are so broken. It doesn't work like that, though. That's the problem, is it doesn't work like that. The way it works is you put out a patch and you add something and it breaks 12 other things. And then you fix those things, and those fixes break some other things. Right? So I think it's just, yeah, you want game development to be unrealistic to some extent. But but at the same time, your focus would rather be less feature adding and more quality of life improvements. And I think you're going to get what you want this year, Zeus. I really do. I think that's what their major focus is. And I think you'll be really happy then this year is I think we will have a lot less crashes, a lot less bugs. because I think the focus is going to be more on quality of life, right? And he just said in Twitch chat, how can I complete a mission without being killed by a ship's ladder? Well, I don't know. Buy ships without ladders. That's what I did. But the, yeah, I think quality of life improvements are more on the forefront this year than they've ever been. So I think you're going to be really happy. I think you're going to be really happy this year. And I think a lot of people are going to be really happy this year. I think a lot of us looked at the roadmap initially and weren't very pleased with it. But I really do think the plan for the year is a solid one, and I'm looking forward to it. I never thought I would be content with, this little additions to Star Citizen this year if they pulled back so much like they have. But with what I see on the roadmap, I don't know. I think we'll be very happy with what's currently in and what they plan on adding. But anyway, we're going to bring in our final caller of the day, potentially. If anybody comes in a little bit late, I'm sure we'll bring them on. ASN. Oh, I forgot to bring him down. ASN, welcome to Answer the Call. How you doing, man?
Hello. How are you doing? I'm doing great. Like, preparing for tomorrow. Kind of excited for GDC. First time coming to the US. Yeah.
Nice, man. For those of you guys that don't know, ASN works on he's a game developer. He works on a game himself. It's up to you if you want to share any information on it here. You're more than welcome.
I mean, it's like probably not something for the Star Citizen crowd, but it's I work on Suzerain. It's a narrative text-based role-playing game about politics. It's quite a unique subject, but yeah, that's what I've been working on recently, and we're looking for partners to get to the market the best way we can. But I don't want to digress from our point.
Yeah.
So one more thing, by the way, my door might ring, so I might answer that real quick in the middle of this.
No worries, I'll take over if you need to.
Okay. So what's missing from Star Citizen for me? I've always pointed this out. I mean, okay, so there are two phases of doing an environment. Okay, you have the art side where you want to generate a visually pleasing, attractive, and memorable scene,
which CIG in a 3D game very focused on, right?
Yeah, so they really want to nail that because that's it's easier to sell that as well. Because to feel the gameplay, you need to be in the game. It takes hours until you understand what's behind the curtains. So they're focusing on that. But the other side is, what's this breathing, alive world? Is there a breathing, living world, right? Because that's that's what a lot of these open world games try to make. A game that, a world that reacts and acts according to player agency, be it single player, be it multiplayer, be it sandbox, be it theme park. In theme parks, less, of course. But that's the issue, right? So you see a beautiful place, you would visit it maybe once or twice just because it's beautiful and nice. But what does change after your third visit?
It's mind-blowing that Hurston isn't exciting or interesting at all.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not to me anymore. And it is such an incredible feat of technology and all these things that they've done to make it even happen, and I take it for granted completely.
Yeah, it's really difficult to pull that off. But that's just one part of this huge battle of making a sandbox MMO. It's like setting the stage and then letting the actors play on it, and we're at the phase where the setting up of the stage is wrapping up slowly, but the actors playing are not enough to keep the show going. And that's what I want. I want to be able to visit a place, and every time I visit it, I want to feel that it has somewhat changed. And this doesn't have to be visible. This can be the economy, this can be the missions, whatever. Things need to change, and that's what draws me in games, especially in online games.
Just too static right now.
Yes, it's too static. It needs to become more dynamic, and I think that's that's what they're aiming for after these improvements and after these additions to the game this year. It's a huge challenge. It's tied to everything. That's the thing. Like a lot of people, and I see this not only in like on the internet, I see it here too. It's like yeah, so Star Citizen never had like good AI. Star Citizen never had like working flight. Star Citizen never had working missions. Like game development is not like you're climbing these stairs. It's literally not like that. You climb, you go up 4 steps, you change the staircase, and you fall 2 steps down, and then you have to get back up 4 steps, and then that's how active development is. It's not like this linear, gradual line.
And that's what we like. Look at the topic of the show and how I presented it. I'm asking people to give linear fixes and linear progression to a certain idea, and what you're telling me is that's just not how it works, and that's just coming from me being naive to the game development side of things.
Exactly, and like while some of the features that you develop are pretty static and they're not as experimental or not as critical and touching other components, other features that you add or change might. So you could see, like, that's why, oh, the doors ring. Okay. Hold on, 1 second.
All right. Well, yeah, and that's fine. We'll let him grab the doorbell, but the idea of what he's saying is interesting because I expect things to be more linear. I expect cargo hauling, like I'm going to go back to that because, again, that's something that's very important to me, that as it releases and then it gets better as it releases, as each release goes on, is what I expect from Star Citizen. But obviously that's not something that's always possible. But at the same time, is it not something that a game developer strives to do at least? Would be, I guess, something that I'll ask him when he comes back. Is I would imagine that you'd be striving for it to get a little bit better each patch until you're actually pleased with it in the long run. But yeah.
All right.
Hey, welcome back.
Sorry about that.
It's all good.
So while
let me ask you something real quick. Like, so obviously things don't always work out in a step-by-step nature, but is that not the goal though? Like, I gave cargo hauling as an example. Like, you put it out and it's not working perfectly, and then but you would fix some things and you would be like, well, I don't like how that works necessarily. If we did it like this, it would be better. And then you do that, and then that breaks a couple things, and then you add on to it. Is it not additive, or sometimes it's just a complete,
It depends on the layer and the complexity of the feature. So basically, when you're talking about so if you take the engine and the technology as the core, and then you just slice it up. So like from there on, the engine, the tech, the framework touches the futures. The futures, affect the gameplay, and the gameplay affect the players. So at that, like the more changes you make at the core, the more you have problems. So
because that touches
whenever
everything.
You add something, exactly. So whenever you add something like cargo, while it's not as crazy like as a feature, it's because it doesn't touch the core mechanics, like the core engine, that much. While it communicates with the network, with everything the game has, it is less destructive. Honestly, it is far less. But when you go change, something in how, let's say, for example, the projectile manager or something like, those systems, whenever they have to change those, improve those are much more volatile. So whenever you're talking about soft features, they are less destructive. But yes, as you said, those things can be additive, but then other core features that don't exist might block their improvements.
Yeah.
So like, to make cargo hauling or trading, physical and all that stuff, that will require changes on the core technology or like parts of the framework of the core technology, which then will break other things or that thing.
Like what I'll share after your call, and what I shared before the stream or before the actual like video that you might be watching on YouTube is, making changes to like the persistent database, and what you own and what you don't.
Yeah.
and that could break other things.
It could, and that's why, like, I'm just gonna give like the best examples, like Flight AI and Dogfight AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dogfight AI is very important for this game. It's the core of the game. Like Flight, Dogfight, that's the game itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you would be like, oh yeah, these guys should fix this and focus on this. Yes, they should, but if you go back a year, the AI was dogfighting just okay. It was average. It was just dodging. It was doing some moves. You could still, get it, and you could still do it in Arena Commander. But it didn't work in the PU because of other reasons, right? That doesn't mean that the AI has been continuously broken for 5 years, right?
Yeah.
So it's just been, so you have to take it patch by patch, feature by feature, and that's how, like, this is really complex stuff, but that's how game development is. You can't just, like, it's not like you're just climbing these stairs and, in gradual time you'll be there at the top and you'll be at 100%. That's just not how it works.
Would you say it's fair to have a show like this? Is this even a fair question to ask?
What's missing for Star?
Like, and under the guise that I want people that are interested in Star Citizen to have a voice and say, this is important to me, and then maybe change what the focus is.
I think it's so okay. What the players think matters always.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the reality of the technology, the production, whatever the game is, or the financial situation.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, game developers, again, mostly passion driven. Like, these guys are mostly, they want to make this product. That's why they're there. And the more the community has a voice and has a preference, the less they have a chance they have to ignore it. And the more they ignore it, the more disconnected they get, and the more unhappy they will get eventually. And their product will also get disconnected from the player base. So having these shows, going out there, getting that consensus or even opposing opinions is very, very important, especially for a project like this.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting insight from you, being a game dev as well, to like
it kind
calm
of
us down a little bit. Because I'm sure this is tilting to listen to sometimes with me.
No, it's not that. What is hilarious is, like, I'm not even at CIG.
No.
But I can understand how a lot of people at CIG are like, oh my god, we're working so hard on this, like,
and they don't get it.
Yeah, we wanted to, but they cannot just, like, be like, hey guys, this is, like, my task, on Monday at 2 p.m. until next week, at Friday 3, we have to close this, and that affects this, and that affects that. It's just
nobody wants to hear that. They just want the game to play.
Exactly, and it takes time. But yeah, I want a living, breathing universe, and to get there, you need persistence, you need a simulated economy, you need all of the other stuff to reasonably function, and yeah, it's just too big of a want from me. So if I want to make it smaller right now for this year, I want law and order.
Are there
proper law and order?
Okay. Yeah. And how would that look to you?
Proper law and order?
Yeah.
Honestly, very simple. I really very simple. GTA style, like hidden, or of course also visible to the player, but in a more in-lore way. Where levels of crime, levels of being hunted, wanted, and of course also, if possible, those black market goods that they've been trialing. Those packages of illegal goods that you can transport now. Adding that stuff to the cities, to the customs, and all of that, I think, will make it of a much more enjoyable game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. It looks like we might have one more caller, so I'll let you run. But as always, ASN, thank you so much for your perspective, because your perspective is so unique, being a person who's worked on video games and also is a huge fan and wants the game to be successful.
Yeah, I just want to highlight, I am not in CIG. I don't understand any of the complexities inside. Like, this is just empathy from my experiences in relation to, Star Citizen. Yeah. Because the biggest project I've involved in was Squad. And even in Squad, like, there were like 15 developers, and we're talking about a game that's just, it started as just first person combat. But like that's 15 people. We're talking about 520 people at CIG that are trying to simulate an online sandbox game at the same time while making a single player campaign. It's like what I experienced as a production scale times 100, or whatever. It's just way bigger than I can imagine. But the core principles are close.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Have a good one.
Yeah.
And see you later.
You too, man. All right. Well, we had a sneaky caller come in. So I'm adding him to the overlay right now. Do that real quick. But ASN, as always, thank you so much. Great call, man. All right. And there's our caller, Meyer. So another Twitch streamer, twitch.tv/Meyer. Hey, Meyer, welcome to Answer the Call.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Of course. So, obviously, you play Star Citizen more often than probably most people, just like most of us streamers do. And
a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I actually got this question yesterday: is why do you still play Star Citizen? And I go, well, I'm not really playing it. I'm here talking about it or with my friends, and when I'm playing it on Twitch, more of my friends show up to talk to, and that's why I play it right now, right? So
yeah,
what would get you to actually play it?
So I mean, I've tried to play it, like whenever I do it, it's literally just like the mission system and stuff. But what would get me to just to play it properly and I guess to get the most out of it is actually a feature that I think I saw last year that got removed, and that was the party system. Like actually having shareable party missions that I can play with friends, so that it's not just viewers hanging out or stalking your character, whatever, but you're all doing something, you're all in it together, you're all getting money at the end of it. I think that Star Citizen is sorely missing this, and without it, there's almost it's a multiplayer game, but the core of the game you can't play with other people because only one person can get the money, and it doesn't make the game fun.
Gotcha. Yeah, I agree. Now, I agree with you. Like, playing with your friends, there's nothing better than that. And it sucks when you play with your friends and only one person gains from that experience, right?
Right.
But I see the game being more your interactions with the AI being more important almost.
Right. And that's fair. And they've brought in the fact that you can have NPC crew and stuff. But at the end of the day, even your NPC crew are going to need to be paid. So even with that, eventually that's going to have to be the case.
Yeah.
And it's not even just friends, but like you're playing the game, you're doing something, and there's the dynamic mission system, which is, and I guess that's another thing that I really want to come in, and that's like the dynamic mission system with the missions and the chaining of missions and stuff. So it's not just a mission to go from A to B, but it's A to B and C might happen, and then another player might come and join the mix.
And there's CA, CB, C1, C2, C3.
Exactly. Yeah.
All sorts of things can happen.
Yeah, so I guess we're missing that as well, because right now, without that, Star Citizen is, for, I guess, lack of a better term, it's still a tech demo, It's still just, what it could be. But once you start adding things like that, adding more dynamic missions so that it's not always the same thing over and over, and maybe it's like a mix of different mission archetypes, and then adding, being able to play with, I mean, and some people in your chat, like, friends, but, a pickup group,
Hey, don't make fun of my chat, all right? They may not be as cool as yours, but all right, we're pretty cool too.
But it'd be really cool I'll take your word on that, but it'd be really cool to just to meet somebody randomly in the verse and say, hey, I want to do this. Yeah, me too. And then, you're not just competing for it, you're doing it together, and you're getting stuff out of it. I think that SC is really missing that. Once it gets that, you can call it an MMO. You can call it a game that you can advertise to friends and say, play this game with me. Because right now, it's still just like a vision, an image of what it could be.
Yeah, like right now you say, look at how cool this game looks.
Yeah.
But you can't really say play this game with me.
Yeah, because if your friend was to come to play with you, you can show them, say, look how cool this game is. I'm doing this mission. They say, oh, cool. If I get the game, can I play it with you? You'd be like, yeah, you could do the mission, but we can't do this mission together.
You can't even be in my multi-crew ship and affect the ship that we're on right now. You know?
Yeah. So more of those things are basically what I think that the game is missing.
Okay. Fair enough, man. Yeah, that is a huge piece, but it's also what's good and what's actually what's good and what's actually unique to what you shared today is it's something that's on the roadmap. Right. Group system improvements but not much detail as to what that is, and then obviously that the dynamic mission system at the end of the year is something that's really important. Someone in Twitch chat said this, and I normally don't respond to it. That is especially for streamers. They need group play, less important for solo players. Yes, but but like he's talking in general about him and his one friend. Like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, come play this game with me, friend. This has nothing to do with streaming and making content necessarily. I'm sure like that is a byproduct of being able to play with other people better. But I mean, I'm not going to lie. I enjoy playing Star Citizen by myself a lot. And I think that that's going to be a huge part of it as well. So.
Yeah, me too. But I mean, even with that, what they have promised, if it is what they say it is, then eventually we're going to have, whether you like it or not, more instances where you as a solo player are going to play with other people. And yeah. I guess, sorry, go on.
No, keep continuing. I was just giving you the thumbs up, basically.
Oh, thank you. But I think that it'd be really cool if, with the dynamic mission system that does come in, if it could go one level further. Because right now, what we have are missions. For the past 3 years, all we've had are just one single mission. You get the mission, you do it.
Yeah.
But what they have entertained are counter missions, where you have a mission, somebody else gets a mission to affect your mission. And that kind of is in right now, but it's not perfect. And then what's coming in at the end of the year is the dynamic mission system, where you kind of have a mix of both of those things. But what will be cool is if somebody who has a counter mission then goes, you know what, I like you, or you know what, actually, maybe we could negotiate and I can help you with this mission, drop my counter mission, and we can share the, I guess, the rewards of your mission.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
I think that might be a bit too nuanced or something, you know, but it'd be cool.
I don't think so, because it only really takes a few elements that already sort of exist. The transferring of money from one player to another. You know, obviously we don't see the mission sharing yet, and we don't see that on the roadmap, but we know that it's important to them. And Luke Presley, who's actually here watching the show live, had mentioned on a Calling All Devs at one point on how they want to do it. It also, like Tech Mojo says in Twitch chat, it involves the law system potentially. It also involves just the mission system in general, and VoIP. You know, VoIP or a better communication via text chat in game. So those are all things that are in game pretty much now and can be worked upon. You know?
Well, that's what I want.
Well,
Give it to me now.
Yeah, I don't know when you'll get it, but I think you'll get it sooner than some of the things that a lot of people have mentioned already, right? Good luck. Good luck to you, sir. I think you'll get it.
All right, dude.
Yeah, but you're not the only sneaky caller. We have another sneaky caller that came in, so I'm going to bring him in and then we'll close it out. So thank you for calling, Meyer. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, dude.
Yeah, first time caller, right?
Yeah, first time caller, long time listener.
Yeah. Nice. All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take it easy.
Bye now. And our final caller is King Gear. We'll get him. King, what's up, man? Good talk. Did you just flush the toilet? Okay. Bye, King. That I guess that's how we're gonna end the show. we got our first meme on the show. What a dick. All right, guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and give my kind of insight into it. I knew he was gonna do that. I knew I had this feeling. King does that stuff. Yes. So the color dump makes perfect sense right now. Yes, it does. So for what I would like to see, and these are small changes to what we already have in the game. I mentioned this before in the Twitch live stream before we actually went live for the actual show, was the idea of allowing you to transfer cargo to any ship that is within your vicinity, let's say within 100 meters, 200 meters. What we see at the outposts is a simple UI image that comes up, and it recognizes ships that are near it, and those are ships that you're allowed to buy and sell cargo from. And what I'm arguing is take that system and add it to the ship's MFDs. So you focus on an MFD and you have a cargo MFD, and that MFD says, okay, Meyer's ship is within 100 meters of me, and Meyer happens to be a pirate, and Meyer says, Torque 17, I am a pirate. And I say, okay. And he says, I want 50% of your cargo. Give me half of your cargo right now, and I won't blow you out of the sky with my extremely overpowered guns because I'm a pirate. And I say, sure, buddy. And I give him the cargo. And it's as simple as moving the little slider, just like we do at the outposts. And the only change that I would make to it is say, okay, you move the slider and you say submit, and then a countdown timer starts, and it's like 60 seconds, and it goes 59, 58, and at the end of that counter, then the cargo instantly moves, because right now we don't have, robots to move the cargo or the ability to take the cargo out and move it. And yeah, that's really it. So that's kind of what I would want to see, is more stuff like that. The ability to interact with each other and the game universe more. And that's what's important to me, is that we're interacting with the game universe as much as possible, and with each other within the game mechanics as much as possible. And my just small example would be the cargo mechanic, and how you can bring in and get a lot of additional gameplay out of it, where a pirate actually benefits from killing you, and you can get out of a situation with a pirate without being killed, right? And have some fun. So yeah, and it would be nice to be able to type numbers in as well. That would be a very, very nice iteration on the current cargo system, right? Basically, we all want gameplay, but how we get to the point where we're playing the game more often is going to be in slow, small steps. So we'll see what happens, But guys, I really, really want to hear what you have to say, what's important to you coming into Star Citizen, and try and keep it in the current time frame, in the next 3, 6, 9 months that you think would be possible for them to do. And yeah, I really hope you guys liked the video. As always, if you did, hit the like button. If you have something you want to add to the show, make sure you hit the comment button, make sure you leave a comment, and make sure you subscribe for more Answer the Calls in the future. I may be coming out with another video later on in the week that is a bit more of a rant, but I have to get my thoughts in place, because I actually discussed it with the stream earlier, and they showed some flaws in it. So my argument. So I don't really want to argue it if it's flawed. So everybody, have a wonderful St. Patrick's Day weekend. I hope you're recovering nicely this Sunday, and I will catch you guys all in the next video.